Euromaxx, the highlights show, featuring popular pub. A cozy watering hole in Ireland has been voted the best bar in the world. Animal art. Photographer Tim Flach specializes in portraits of our four-legged friends. And French favorite, Armagnac is France's oldest brandy. Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Karin Helmstedt.
Hello there and welcome to our Highlights edition, coming to you from Boomtown, Berlin. Very recently, that's the German capital's new tag in the press because it's become so popular with tourists. Now, 2010 saw an absolute record in the tourism figures with 20 million overnight stays registered here in Berlin. Well, that makes tourism this town's biggest business. And we caught up with some visitors here to experience one of Europe's hottest capitals.
Berlin is now the third most popular destination in Europe. This year, the city welcomed a record number of visitors. Although most of the tourists are from Germany and Europe, Berlin is gaining popularity worldwide.
Berlin is a very cosmopolitan city.
More relaxed than where I live, less rules, more fun.
I think it's a very interesting and very meaningful place to visit.
It's very interesting because in Australia we have none of that history.
I like the bars, I like the restaurants, I like die Stimmung.
We can say it's the capital of Europe.
A tourist spends about 2.5 days and nearly 200 euros in Berlin for an annual total of 9 billion euros. This year, 30% more tourists from Israel came than in 2009. Moshe and Atai Kozlovsky are staying a week. They're meeting their German-Israeli tour guide in front of the hotel.
The old generation still consider Berlin as, the center of the Nazism and all of this. For the young people, it's more like international cities. I would say in the last 5-10 years, become very popular to come in, not just because of the Holocaust, but as an international city for them to come and enjoy themselves.
The Kozlovskys plan to visit several monuments in memorial to the Jews persecuted during Hitler's Third Reich. For the 22-year-old Atai, this is the first Berlin visit.
Before I came here, I sort of expected to arrive in Berlin and see all the flags still on the buildings and see people marching in the street, and it's just not like that. It's a modern city. When I first came here, I told my father it's just like being in Paris, just like being in London. It's just so modern and everything is so beautiful here.
Tourists flock to monuments and sites of historical significance. For example, the remnants of the Berlin Wall at Potsdamer Platz, or Checkpoint Charlie, which used to be the border crossing between East and West Berlin. The biggest contingents of foreign visitors come from Italy, Britain, Spain, and the United States.
Berlin is a very tolerant city and a city that never sleeps. It has a very positive energy and a big city feel to it. At the same time, it doesn't make you crazy. There's plenty of space for people to be themselves, and it's affordable. You get the full big city experience at half price compared to many other places.
The range of artistic events is huge, up to 1,200 in one evening. Berlin has 3 opera houses and a wealth of fabulous museums. About 3/4 of the museum's visitors are tourists. The one that draws the biggest crowd is the Pergamon Museum. Lots of new hotels have been built recently. There are more than 110,000 beds for visitors. Berlin has 22 5-star hotels. One of the grandest is the Adlon. Occupancy there is up 30% on last year. Travel industry experts say if tourists continue to flock in ever greater numbers to Berlin, it might see as many as 30 million overnight stays in 2020.
Well, patriotic Berliners might even want to hazard a guess that the best bar in the world might be right in their own backyard. But they'll have to think again, because the one that did get top honours from this year's Lonely Planet travel guide is a cosy little pub just outside the Irish capital, Dublin. So, like many famous personalities before us, we went along to sample some real Irish hospitality.
It's 9 in the evening in the small Irish seaside town of Bray. This is where you'll find the Harbour Bar. It's been voted the best bar in the world. Its owner, Colin O'Toole, had no idea of his luck until he received a phone call from New York.
My brother over in New York and a few relatives as well phoned me and said, they've just read on USA Today and Irish Central as well on the front pages that we won best pub in the world. So I was just like, what? So they were delighted, I'm delighted, and what can I say? It was just like, wow, what an accolade.
Readers from all over the world voted for the Harbour Bar. They particularly liked the authentic atmosphere. In contrast to the numerous modern trendy bars, this one has plenty of rustic charm. This elk's head, for example, was a prop in Woody Allen's first feature film in 1965. Peter O'Toole brought it here. The famous Irish actor is a regular guest, like many other international celebrities. Many of them have signed the guest book, which dates back to 1880.
We've got the film studios just up the road here, and we also have, which Neil Jordan would bring everybody from the film studios in, all the famous actors and so on and so forth, and then Bono's house is just around the corner. So we had everybody from U2, so we've just a huge diverse crowd. Then James Joyce's house is across the road. We've even had a little write-up in his one of his poems.
The bar was opened in the middle of the 19th century. Since then, it has also served as the post office and a funeral home. The owners have changed many times. Then, in the 1930s, the O'Toole family bought the bar. It's been in the family ever since.
We get along with all our customers. We know them all by first name. We enjoy their company, they enjoy ours, and they just keep on coming back. So everybody keeps coming back all the time. And it's, we have generations of, their grandparents have drunk here. They send their kids, and now their kids are sending their kids.
The Harbour Bar is open every day, all year long. On Thursdays and weekends, when there's live music, it caters to up to 400 guests. The Irish punk band Pimps and Gimps is giving its third concert here. The band is heard on Irish radio stations and has already made the charts.
For us, it's like playing just to your friends at home. It's real small, it's very homely. The crowd is right there beside you. There's no gap. It's not a big stage. Everyone's right in front. And if you can fill the place out, it just feels like it's very intimate and very... It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's like jamming at home.
In the next room, they're playing Irish folk music. The musical contrasts are in close proximity, and that's what makes the Harbour Bar so special.
The beer is good, the music is good, there's traditional music, there's rock music.
You just like it, it's different. It doesn't pretend to be anything else other than what it is.
It's a very social place, you meet good people here, everyone's cool. So.
As a child, Colin O'Toole wanted to be a movie star, but he became a barkeeper. Today, he's glad he did.
Hopefully stay here for as long as, my uncle. So he's been here 73 years now, so I think there's a few more years left of me, before I believe that my son is trained in enough.
The Harbour Bar, just south of Dublin in the small town of Bray. With such a cozy atmosphere, it's no wonder it was voted the best bar in the world.
Well, over now to downtown London, where crocodiles, wolves and kangaroos might not be so commonplace, but if you were to bump into them in Tim Flach's studio, they wouldn't be out of the ordinary at all. Flach is a prize-winning photographer best known for his conceptual portraits of animals, and we caught up with him on assignment.
Pictures by one of the world's most renowned animal photographers, Tim Flach. Animal photography is one of the most difficult genres in the field. Unlike human models or buildings, animals are unpredictable. But for Tim Flach, that's part of the appeal.
Why animals is often asked of me, and I think it's because I like the uncertainty.
His clients include French luxury label Hermès and the sporting goods manufacturer Adidas. He's also worked for the Gore-Tex company. Tim Flach's photo studio is located in London's Shoreditch district. TV presenter Lucy Clarkson has asked him to take pictures of her dog, Chunk. To register for the session, she sent in a picture of Chunk taken on her cell phone. Clarkson has long been a fan of Flach's work. But before the shoot gets underway, the photographer first makes some decisions about how to proceed.
When I saw the pictures of Chunk, that he had actually a very good sort of almost, you might say, profile, or very much profile shot. And so I want to explore that. Okay, let's
The photo studio is in the basement, so the animals can't accidentally escape. Tim Flach's subjects have included poisonous snakes, wolves, and even bats.
Generally, surprisingly, Flach doesn't seem to bother them as much one would assume as a human thinking about it. You imagine the Flach would kind of spook you, but I'm always really surprised. There are exceptions, but generally, most animals are more concerned about things they can't see, noises that are sudden, movements that spook them.
Sit, stay.
That's good. That's a good line.
This is 2-year-old Chunk's first big appearance before the camera. Even when animals aren't disturbed by flash photography, Tim Flach tries to take as few shots as possible. Unlike with human models, he has to wait until the animal takes the pose he wants. So it's important to him to stay relaxed, waiting until the perfect shot turns up. And his current exhibition in London shows that those moments do exist. For an entire year, Tim Flach photographed canines all over the world. His pictures sell for up to 20,000 euros. Flach captures his subjects' individuality, showing them as domestic ornaments, divas, or simply creatures full of quirks. Back in the studio, Chunk needs some time out.
Particularly this breed of dog is known to be stubborn. If it decides it doesn't want to be on that table, there's not much that can persuade it after that. So what we're trying to do is make sure Chunk doesn't get to a point where it says, I don't want to be here. So that's why we're braking, let him come down. And also, ultimately, we'll get there faster.
The photo shoot has been underway for 2 hours. Animals can only maintain their concentration briefly. That's why Lucy Clarkson's husband, Michael, has stopped by to help convince Chunk to assume the proper pose.
Very good.
And the extra effort pays off. It looks like they captured the perfect moment.
Good habit. Hold on, let's have a look.
Tim Flach isn't completely happy with the shot, but he knows the bulldog has reached his limit.
And then you end up with a much more compact. He's there as like a solid dog, which is what is so distinctive. So he represents a symbol.
Best of the British, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As a special treat, Chunk will now get his favorite meal, roast beef with sweet potatoes. And his owners finally have the perfect picture of man's best friend.
And from dogs to drink, and the most famous brandy distilled in France is indeed cognac, but it's not the oldest of its kind. That honour goes to Armagnac, which takes its name from a region in the foothills of the Pyrenees in southwestern France. Armagnac is made at the end of the year, and the French like it so much that they only export about half of the amount produced, and the rest of it they keep for themselves.
A tasting session has been called in the cellars of the Château de l'Aubade winery. This is where the estate's oldest Armagnacs are stored. The very oldest is from 1888, but younger vintages are also excellent.
Armagnac involves craftsmanship. Behind every Armagnac, there's an individual style. This is a brandy with an author, like a writer. Cognac, which is produced in much larger quantities, is much more stereotyped and industrial. Armagnac is still made by people, by families in a small growing region, in small barrels. It's all hand craftsmanship.
Armagnac is distilled from white wine. 4 different grape varieties are traditionally grown for it in Gascony in southwestern France. Château de l'Aubade is one of the best known and largest producers of Armagnac. It has been distilling wine for more than 100 years. Arnaud Legourgue manages the estate in the 3rd generation. The Armagnac is distilled in a special still, the Alambic Armagnacais. Unlike cognac, which is distilled twice, Armagnac is distilled in a single continuous process.
The advantage of our method is that while the brandy is a bit rough-edged when it's young, as it matures, it can develop more character and complexity. Because heating it only once means that fewer components, aromas, and structures are removed from the spirits.
People in Gascony have been distilling Armagnac for 700 years. Many small wine growers don't have their own distilleries. So from late autumn until March 31st, mobile distillers drive from estate to estate with their equipment. After that, distilling Armagnac is no longer allowed. Around half of every Armagnac vintage is produced with a mobile distillery. Gilbert Ménac has served a dozen vineyards each winter for the last 22 years.
The most important thing is to keep track of everything. After you've started the distilling process, you have to pay close attention. You have to control the inflow of wine, the temperature, and the alcohol content. And because you are distilling without interruption, you do it for 24 hours straight.
Back at the Château de l'Aubade, the Armagnac matures in oak barrels in 7 different cellars, each with a different temperature and humidity. Each Armagnac moves through at least 6 cellars and ages for up to 60 years. The wood from the surrounding forests gives Armagnac its color and flavor. The vintages are tasted regularly and moved into other cellars whenever necessary. Each cellar produces a different taste.
Aromas like vanilla, spices, coffee, cocoa, and what we really look for in the end, all the aromas that underscore the age of the brandy. That's our daily work here. And not only ours, but also that of the preceding generations who produced and stored the Armagnac here for their descendants.
So every bottle of Armagnac contains more than brandy. It also holds the passion, experience, and knowledge of the people of Gascony who produce it and who have grown up with it.
Let me tell you an anecdote. My sisters, my brother and I, and also our children, were all baptized in the church. But here, we also baptize children with Armagnac. You mix a little Armagnac with a lot of water and give the baby a small spoonful, so that very early on, it takes part in the culture and way of life of Gascony.
Armagnac, For the people of Gascony, it's not just a high-quality beverage, but also an integral part of their lives.
And finally, one of the most typical New Year's resolutions here in Germany is to get more exercise. Whether it's jogging, swimming, yoga or circuit training, every little bit counts. But to avoid that statistically proven drop in motivation, some 8 to 10 weeks into the new year, our reporter Hendrik Welling decided to see if he could up the fun factor of his chosen exercise and thereby perhaps his chances of staying fit. And here's how he did that.
Many of us pack on a few pounds over the holidays. That's why our reporter has ventured out into snowy Berlin for a jog through the park.
Every year I decide I'm going to do more sport, and yes, this year's no exception. But to be honest, I'm already bored of running, and in the hope that I can stick at it for longer in 2011, I'm trying 3 different ways to exercise.
First on the list is the Freecross, a 3-wheel device that's somewhere between a cross trainer and an ordinary bicycle.
Hallo Reinhard. Hallo. Das ist also das Ding.
Helmut Reinhardt says the Freecross went on the market early this year. Our reporter asks what's so special about it.
You're familiar with cross trainers from the gym. They're great, but they're rooted to the spot. And who really enjoys running in place? You're not in the fresh air. This is the same system. I'm doing some wonderful back exercises. I'm riding, balancing, using my balance to control it, shifting my weight, and moving from A to B.
First, a few instructions.
Just shift your weight, shift it to your feet, and move into the curve.
Okay. Einfach ziehen.
Wunderbar. Time to try a straightaway. Helmut Reinhardt gives a few more tips, and our reporter is off.
Also vorwärts klappt schon ganz gut, ja.
Moving straight ahead is easy. According to one study, the Freecross uses up to 25% more calories than a regular bicycle. Our reporter asks how he's faring.
Fantastic. Half an hour training and you'll be in top shape.
Going around a curve is a bit trickier.
Aber auch ganz schön eng hier.
The Freecross is endurance training, and it trains coordination and balance as well.
At first I thought the Freecross is just like any other cross trainer like you get in gyms all over the world, but with wheels underneath. But actually it's quite different. The fact that I have to use my whole body to change direction makes me feel that I'm exercising all my muscles. And it's really, really much fun.
But exercising outdoors isn't such an appealing prospect when it's cold. Another option is staying indoors and testing a designer home exercise bike. The Ciclotta fits neatly into a corner, but high-tech design comes at a price, 8,300 euros. That's the going rate for this sliver of steel, carbon and fiberglass.
Typical Italian design, but for me it's a little bit too small.
But there are other ways to work out at home too. Although this might look like an awkward dance move, it's actually personal fitness training. But the personal trainer is a game console. The newest generation even includes a video camera. It registers up to 50,000 points on the body and continuously transmits the position to the computer. Just slice and thrust through the air to control the game. The silhouette appears in real time on the monitor. And it's really a workout.
I'd never thought of a games console as a sports equipment, but that's how it feels like. I'm sweating, I have fun, and I don't have to have a control pad in my hand all the time. But doing this kind of action in front of the TV is sort of strange.
Maybe it'll feel a bit less strange with a partner. The game console can also function like a regular sports simulation game. It's good entertainment value, but not a very effective workout. Here, the final score is the important thing.
What I've realized today, after doing some sport, the best bit is the feeling afterwards. You're a bit sweaty, you can feel your whole body, and you're a bit tired. But if you want that, no matter what sport you do, there's no getting around it. You just have to get out there and do it.
I would certainly wish him all the best. Maybe we'll check in 8 or 10 weeks and see if he's still sticking to it. Well, don't forget that should you like to watch that programme again or find out a little bit more about it, you can visit our website. Just go to dw-world.de/English/Euromaxx-highlights to get there directly. Well, that's all for this edition, and until next time, hope to see you soon. Tschüss and auf Wiedersehen.